Welcome to my channel. Today, we bring the story of Maryam Nawaz Sharif, the journey of resilience. Please watch till end. And if this inspire you, do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And let's grow with Hassan Meer. Today, we will talk about from daughter to leader, early life and education, marriage and family life, her father's political legacy, Maryam's entry into politics, trials, controversies and imprisonment, return to politics and rise to leadership, public impact, and women's leadership in Pakistan, moral and outro. Let's dive into the story. In the heart of Lahore, Pakistan's cultural capital, Maryam Nawaz Sharif was born on October 28, 1973, the first child of Nawaz Sharif and Kulsum Nawaz. The Sharif family, known for its deep roots in business and public life, had already seen both privilege and loss. Only 2 years before her birth, the family's steel business, Ittifaq Foundries, was nationalized by Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Her father, Nawaz Sharif, would later recall in an interview, "We lost everything overnight. But I told my family, if we keep our faith and work, we can rebuild from dust." Interview with Daily Dawn, 1992. Those words of resilience would later echo in Maryam's own life. From her earliest years, she witnessed both the rise and fall of her family's fortunes, lessons no textbook could teach. Maryam grew up in an environment where faith, discipline, and service were part of daily life. Her grandfather, Mian Muhammad Sharif, was a man of strong faith and modest habits. Every evening, family discussions revolved around business ethics, honesty, and social responsibility. Her mother, Kulsum Nawaz, a highly educated and principled woman, instilled in her children a sense of grace under pressure. Kulsum once wrote in her personal notes, later quoted by a family biographer, "Our daughters must be educated and strong. They should stand beside their fathers and brothers not in shadow, but in strength." Those words would become prophetic. Maryam attended the convent of Jesus and Mary, Lahore, one of Pakistan's most prestigious schools for girls. Her teachers described her as disciplined, curious, and eloquent. She participated in debates, poetry recitations, and social service activities, often leading student teams during cultural events. In an interview years later, she recalled, "I was raised in an environment where being a girl was never a limitation. My parents believed in capability, not gender." Interview to the News, 2016. After school, Maryam joined King Edward Medical College, Lahore, intending to become a doctor. However, her medical studies were short-lived. Reports suggest she withdrew due to family circumstances and growing political activity around her father. Yet she didn't stop learning. She continued her education privately, later earning a master's degree in English literature from the University of the Punjab. Education for her was never merely about a degree. It was about awareness of self, of society, and of the power of communication. During her university years, she became known for her analytical mind and strong opinions. Professors recalled her as composed but assertive, a young woman unafraid to challenge ideas. While Maryam was completing her studies, Pakistan was going through seismic political changes. Her father's political career was accelerating, first as Finance Minister of Punjab, then as Chief Minister, and eventually as Prime Minister in 1990. Maryam's teenage years coincided with some of the most dramatic moments in Pakistan's political history: the fall of General Zia, the rise of democracy, and the shifting balance between civilian rule and the military. She was often present at family gatherings where national issues were discussed passionately. Her early exposure to politics gave her a unique duality. She was a private individual raised in a public family. She learned to observe more than to speak, a skill that would later become one of her strengths. Her teachers remembered her humility despite her background. One of them recalled in a 2018 interview, "Maryam never behaved like a politician's daughter. She was reserved, focused, and respectful, the kind of student who would stay back to help organize the class board or clean up after an event." Her father's life was a study in political turbulence. 3 terms as prime minister, 3 abrupt dismissals, and multiple confrontations with the establishment. Her mother, Kulsum Nawaz, was known for her strength under pressure, especially during the 1999 military coup when General Pervez Musharraf overthrew Nawaz Sharif's government. Maryam, then in her mid-20s, watched her mother lead protests, stand firm against arrests, and eventually help rebuild the family's political fortunes. That period profoundly shaped her understanding of courage and endurance. She later said in an interview with BBC Urdu, 2018, "My mother taught me what quiet strength looks like. She never raised her voice, but she never bowed her head either." The world would later see that same quiet strength reflected in Maryam herself. Maryam Nawaz grew up with three guiding principles that became evident throughout her political career. 1. Loyalty to family, faith, and nation. 2. Discipline, the Sharif family's defining trait, evident in her father's and grandfather's work ethics. 3. Resilience, the ability to rebuild after every fall. From the loss of business fortunes in the 1970s to the repeated political downfalls in later decades, she saw her family repeatedly return, not through anger, but through persistence. Her grandfather once told her, as she recalled in an interview, "Beta, sabr, is not weakness. It is power. People who can wait with dignity always win in the end." That philosophy became her emotional armor during later trials, imprisonment, humiliation, and political isolation. Even before she entered active politics, Maryam was already involved in philanthropic activities, education drives, charity events, and healthcare initiatives under the Sharif Foundation. She learned the fundamentals of public service long before she learned the mechanics of politics. By the early 2000s, Pakistan was under military rule once again. Nawaz Sharif was in exile in Saudi Arabia, and the family's political base in Lahore was under pressure. Maryam took charge of family welfare programs and kept community networks alive quietly behind the scenes. Her ability to manage, coordinate, and communicate, while keeping a low profile, reflected the leadership qualities that would later define her political career. Maryam's early life wasn't just about privilege, it was about preparation. She learned early that political power is fragile, that wealth can vanish overnight, and that character is the only lasting legacy. Her story reminds every young person, especially women, that leadership doesn't begin with a position, it begins with values. She would later tell students at a youth conference in 2016, "Your background does not define your future. Your choices do." And that belief, in personal agency, in hard work, and in moral strength, became the foundation of her journey from a daughter of privilege to a leader of resilience.